the homework for the exponential functions section of 4.2. Here's number 17. So you're asked to graph these, so you can just make a chart, x's and y's. So I plug in -2. My y would be 3 to the -2. That is 1 over 3 squared, which is 1 over 9. So 1/9. So at -2, I'm at 1/9. Maybe somewhere down there. Plug in -1. That's 3 to the -1. That is 1 over a positive 3. So that's 1/3. So at -1, I'm at -1/3. At 0, anything raised to 0 is 1. At 1, 3 to the 1 is 3. So at 1, I'm at 3. And then 2 would be 3 squared, which is 9. And I'm not going to graph that one, so way up high. So we can see that it's not going to cross 0, and it's totally increasing. From left to right, it's increasing. Our domain is from -infinity to positive infinity, and our range, it doesn't cross 0, so that means it goes from 0, doesn't hit 0, to infinity. So there's number 17 for you. Let's do number 29. Okay, so just like kind of like the homework kind of explains in the description, or not the homework, this is the homework. In the examples, we're taking f of x, and we want to graph this function 2x plus 1. So again, you can make a table, or we can look at the parent function. Right here's the parent function, y equals 2x. We know that parent function, if it's just plain 2x, that it's -1, 1/2, 0, 1, 1, 2. So we know that parent function looks like this. So we could use the facts from chapter 2 that says, hey, when we add something after the exponent, when we add something after we do the operation, that moves it up or down. So that's just going to move those 3 points up. So it's going to move these 3 points up 1. So this goes up 1. So from 1/2 to 1/2, from 1 to 2, and from 2 to 3. So that means my horizontal asymptote, which originally was y equals 0, this one is now y equals 1, because that got moved up as well, y equals 1. So it's not going to cross that y value of 1, and then it continues to go up from there. So there it is in green. Again, you could make a table as well and start plugging them in. And you can see those just change. When I plug in -1, I'm going to get a 1 1/2, so 3/2. I plug in 0 and I get 1. I plug in +1 and I get 3. So here you go, f of x equals 2 raised to the x plus 1. So that plus 1 is attached to the x, so that's going to move our parent function, which again is y equals 2 raised to the x. It's just going to move it to the left one. It's always the opposite connected to the x. So we said before, we have -1, 1/2, +1, 0, or sorry, 0, 1, and then 1, 2. All right, so there's our normal parent function. Now this says we're going to add 1 to our x. So that's actually going to do the opposite. It's going to move it left 1. So all these points are going to move left 1. So left 1, left 1, left 1. And again, it doesn't cross that. Still, we're not adding anything to this. So our horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. And so it's not going to cross that. And it's going to increase from there. Okay, so here's number 37, the last one. I want to graph 2 raised to the x minus 1, and then plus 2. So again, we're looking at the parent function, y equals 2 raised to the x. So we know what those points are. This time, originally, our horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. This plus 2 is going to move that up to 1, 2. Okay, and I talked about this in one of the classes, but you're always going to have a point that is 1 above or 1 below that line. If you have a positive a, it's going to be 1 above that line, and it's going to be located at an x value opposite of what this is. So opposite of -1 there is a +1. So 1 above this line, there's going to be a point right there. And then since this is a is positive, right, and it's not a fraction, it's a whole number, that means it's going to continually, from left to right, it's going to increase like that. So there's the graph. So really all I need is 1 point. But again, you could plug in numbers, like say if I plug in 1, what's 1 minus 1? That's 0. 2 to the 0 would be 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. Isn't this point right here 3? Y value of 3, 1, 2, 3. Yep. I could plug in 0. 0 minus 1 is -1. And 2 to the -1 is 1/2. 1/2 plus 2 is 1.5. So at 0 we're at 2.5. Sorry, 2.5. Which is these right there. All right, so there's my graph. All done.